Today we need to talk about Palantir, more specifically about how companies' earnings, revenues, fundamentals, and contracts continue to grow while the company's stock does this. So if you're interested in investing in Palantir, learning about Palantir, if you're already invested in Palantir or you just want to learn about investing in general, I think you've come to the right place. So watch till the very end. You'll definitely learn something from this video. So let me just roll the intro and then we'll get straight into the video. What's going on, guys? Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. So today we need to talk about why Palantir's intrinsic value continues to increase while its stock value continues to decrease, right? So let's just hop into fiscal year 2020 earnings report and look at the summary, right? So for those of you that are wondering why are we looking at fiscal year 2020 while we're in 2022, it's because I need to compare the data to show you what's going on, right? So we can see 1.1 billion in revenue for the full year of 2020, up 47% year over year, right? And then we look at fiscal year 2021, total revenue grew to 1.54 billion, 41% up year over year, right? So you can see that the growth is about similar, and plus another very important thing here, adjusted free cash flow of 424 million, representing a 28% margin, right? So you can see that here there was no adjusted free cash flow because it was a negative free cash flow company, right? So this company has went from negative free cash flow to positive free cash flow in a year, and the stock has done this in that same year, right? So you can see that obviously the stock and the company seems to be disconnected. So as you can see, the stock and the company are not the same thing, right? Even though a lot of people think these two are the same thing, right? And obviously these two are closely tied, right? Because if the company does well, the stock should theoretically do well, right? But there are many factors in play, right? For example, the market have priced in too much, or maybe management did something which is very bad or something like that, right? So we can see in this case, both of those things are happening, right? Because if we look at 2020 shares outstanding and 2021 shares outstanding, right? This is basically how many shares there are in the open market, right? You can see that the share count went from 979 million to 1.8 billion, right? So if you're wondering what this website is, obviously I'm not sponsored by them, but this website is morningstar.com, right? And it will bring you a lot of good fundamental numbers that you need, right? Basically as an investor. So yeah, if you are looking for all these growth numbers or whatever it is, you don't have to calculate it yourself. Just go on Morningstar. It will save you a lot of time, right? So yeah, let's continue talking about this share-based compensation, right? So obviously, you can see that the share count doubled. So in Palantir's fiscal year 2021 highlights, they've obviously stated that they are going to normalize the share count growth, right? Because obviously this is not very normal, right? When you see like the share count doubling in 1 year, right? Basically, the share count doubling in 1 year means that if I own 100% of the company, right? By the next year, I own only 50% of the company. So yeah, that's definitely not something which is good, right? Because you're diluting shareholder value, right? But we can see that they have mentioned that they will start to normalize this, and obviously that this will start to normalize, meaning it will not double every year anymore, right? Maybe there's still some dilution, but maybe it's like 5% or something like that, right? And if it's a 5% dilution, I'm sure Palantir can outgrow it, right? So obviously share-based compensation is not always a bad thing, because if you own 100% of a company and the company is worth 100 million, but you can get a partner to come in and basically you give him 50% of the company, but he can make the company worth 500 million, right? So obviously your 100 million turns into 250 million, right? Because in the first scenario, you own 100% of 100 million, and in the second scenario, you own 50% of 500 million, right? So yeah, obviously share-based compensation is not always a bad thing. So I'm not debating about whether it's right or wrong that Palantir diluted shareholders 100% in the past year or so. You can go decide that on by yourself, right? I'm just here as an investor, and I'm looking that they have diluted shareholders, and they say that moving forward they won't do it so much anymore, right? And I do understand why they diluted shareholder value, but that's a video for another day, right? So you can see Palantir stock, obviously from the DPO, right? You can see that Palantir shares opened at $10 on Wednesday. The company, the company's debut on the New York Stock Exchange and closed the trading session at 9:50, right? So you can see from $10 here, you can see that it's up a measly 3%, right? So some people say at least we're not down, right? But you can see that a lot of people would say that, oh, I don't want to look at this stock anymore because, it's probably down from where most people bought it, right? Because most people would be buying around here, right? And I would argue that now is a perfect time to look at this stock, right? Because you can see at the DPO price and our current price, it's not much difference, right? But I can tell you one thing, the company's fundamentals have improved immensely, right? Versus at the DPO price, right? So yeah, to me, it's a perfect time to look at Palantir. So lesson number 2 from this video is from this very good quote from Warren Buffett, right? So an IPO is like a negotiated transaction. The seller chooses when to come public, and it's unlikely to be a time which is favorable to you, right? So let's just look at when Palantir chose to go public. So I'm not blaming them for doing this. The upper management is supposed to do whatever is the best for the company, right? But you have to realize that sometimes whatever the best is for the company is not what is the best for you as a shareholder, right? So we have to see that company's management have to put both shareholder and the company in a win-win situation, right? And in an IPO, there is a win-lose situation, right? Always, because the company wants to sell its shares for as expensive as possible, and the investors want to buy the shares for as cheap as possible, right? So you can see on both sides, it's one side will win and one side will lose, right? Rather than if you're already owning the shares, right, of the company, and the management is treating the company well and the management is treating shareholders well, right, you can do it. They're not mutually exclusive, right? While IPO is mutually exclusive, right? One side has to win and one side has to lose. So if we take a look at the timing, October of 2020, the public markets were flush with cash, and that's the best time to go public for the company, right? But for you as an investor, was that the best time to buy? In fact, I would argue, even at the DPO price, Palantir was quite overvalued, right? Even though a lot of people were screaming that it's undervalued, right? So in my opinion, currently it's extremely undervalued, and I'll take a look at a DCF model that I made in a bit, right? So again, this should be like your Bible when it comes to investing in IPOs, right? Just don't do it, right? Because the seller chooses when to come public. And that's the most essential line that you have to know, right? Anytime that it's a seller's market, right, they're going to sell you something for very expensive. If you've learned something from this video, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. It really helps out me and my channel, right? And some people might criticize me and say, oh, if you didn't get in at the Microsoft IPO, let's say 10 cents here, you would miss out all these gains, right? But I would say gone are the days of these kind of IPOs, right? Nowadays, most companies that go public either have a lot of stock options vesting, have a lot of maybe loss-making companies and all this, right? So I'm not really like saying all IPOs are bad, but maybe for every one Microsoft, you get 100 Rivians, right? And you can see maybe everyone is hyped up for this pump, but after that, you know what's happening, right? So yeah, another thing that I want to talk about is actually the Russia-Ukraine tensions right now, right? So in my opinion, this will have nothing to do with Palantir, right? And it can only be an upside for Palantir, right, if this actually happened, because maybe the NATO allies and also the US needs more software because of this, right? I'm not saying that it's a good thing or whatever it is. Definitely war is a bad thing for everyone. Like, war is a value destructing kind of activity, right? But I'm saying a lot of people are selling off Palantir like crazy because of this thing, but I think it's not really affected, right? So next, let's take a look at my DCF model, right? And for those of you that have seen this before, today I'm going to set a price target, right? So personally, when I do this DCF model, I use a 20% discount rate because I feel like I will get a lot of things wrong and all of that good stuff, right? But you can see that based on my DCF model, I believe this company is worth $25.12 billion, right? And you can see today the whole company is trading for $21 billion, right? So in my opinion, this company is undervalued, right? And if I were to use a discount rate which is more in line with the industries, right, so about 10%, you can see that the market cap that it comes to about doubles, right? So I don't normally do price predictions, but obviously some people might want price predictions or whatever it is, so I'm just doing it for the video, right? But I treat this very loosely, right? And you should take it with a pinch of salt as well, right? But basically what my this price is saying is that if tomorrow something crazy happened and Palantir stock suddenly is above a $57 billion market cap, right? Because 10% discount rate is what the industry is using, right? So that is like fair value for the whole industry if their growth rates are the same as mine, right? So if you do want to find out how I got my free cash flow numbers and also my growth rates, I'll leave a link on the top right? So do check out that video if you want to learn in detail how to use this free cash flow calculator. So if their growth rate is same as mine, that's probably where they put their fair value. And if this market cap went to 57 billion without anything affecting the fundamental value of the company, then yeah, obviously I will sell it at that point, right? But yeah, what did you learn from this video, right? Let me just summarize this video really quick, right? First of all, the company and the stock are obviously very clearly, now that you look at the evidence, not the same thing, right? Number two, don't buy IPOs, DPOs, specs, whatever it is, right? When it starts, because there's a lot of warrants outstanding. There's a lot of maybe shares that need to be exercised, which will dilute your value and all. So obviously everyone during the frenzy will think that this is a good thing, it's fine. Whatever it is, the per share value can still go up because there's just that much demand happening at that moment, right? But you can see when the demand dries up, right? Obviously this happens, right? And this is never a good thing, right? If you're really a long-term shareholder, right? If you're a speculator, made your money here, then that's something else, right? But if we as long-term shareholders do this, right, we will lose money over the long term. And number three, I think the Russia-Ukraine tensions will be a big nothing burger for Palantir as a company, and also as maybe as a stock, it will give us some buying opportunities, right? So yeah, that's about all I wanted to share today. If you did enjoy the video, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. With that being said, have a fantastic day ahead and peace out.